Let's do a review of Chapter 4. When we finished last week, I asked you to go ahead and complete the demo problem. I think we left off with just the adjusted trial balance. If you still have your demo, go ahead and bring it out so that we can look at that. The rest of the worksheet was not anything new because you've already prepared the financial statements. We've been doing that since Chapter 1. So the only thing that was really new was putting it into the worksheet. And the first column is your account names. On some worksheets, you have a place over to the left, and you can put your account number if you want to. Some worksheets, you can list all of the accounts if you have a ledger or if you have a chart of accounts. This problem didn't give us all of the accounts, so we couldn't list them all. When we are using a new account in the adjustment in this book, it shows us that we added below the total of the trial balance. It's just another, I think, helpful hint to remind you that these had a zero balance on the trial balance. Now they have a balance, so they have increased. So the amounts that we have over in the adjustment should be on the normal balance side. It's just another way to help you remember, how do I do that adjusting entry? And why do we have to adjust certain accounts?
Show like supplies that have been used up.
Okay, supplies that have been used up, depreciation.
Prepaid rent and stuff expires.
Okay,
the account will be out of date, so we have to update it.
We do need to update it. We updated it on the worksheet, but is the account actually updated yet?
No.
It's still not updated, so we still have to do a little bit to this worksheet, and we'll continue that in Chapter 5. We have them updated on the worksheet, but not in the actual ledger accounts. How are we going to update them in the ledger then?
We finished the worksheet.
We finished the worksheet, but then we have to do something else. We have to journalize those adjusting entries. Once we journalize everything that's in this column, then our ledger accounts, after we post, should be current, correct? Now the one that is, I think, a little tricky is the payroll, and that adjusting entry is usually reversed at the beginning of the next fiscal period. Usually we only see that payroll adjusted at the end of the year. This showed it adjusted, well, it was December, but we didn't have very big amounts. I don't think that would have been the amount for the whole year, do you? Not really. But when they're giving us a new concept, I like the idea that they give us little numbers so that we're not focused so much on adding and subtracting to get those numbers to come up. Now, as you're working across the worksheet, as you do the adjustments, some of you may be putting the numbers in the adjusted trial balance. I like to do that. If they're giving me what number should go here, I'm going to put it down. If they gave me the amount of supplies that were left, that goes in here, right?
Yes.
And then we don't have to go back and look at the problem again. They already gave us that number. The adjustments are always for the amount used. If you'll try to remember that as we're working through the worksheet. This actually is my favorite thing to do in accounting. I like the worksheet. Puts everything together, and it gives you a chance to fix your mistakes if you have any. So after we have the adjusted trial balance, then we're going to divide our accounts into the income statement, and I put my mnemonic up there. Use whatever tools will help you remember. Should there ever be any assets on that income statement?
No.
Only income, cost, and expense, and you don't have any cost accounts yet and won't have any until Chapter 11. So you only have our revenue and our expenses. Then on the balance sheet, I have the aloe up there, but really I prefer the owl. Because I think you can get confused with that E and maybe think that's supposed to be expenses. Okay?
Which I did on the test.
Did we have a net income or a net loss?
We had a net income now of
We
$17.
did. Remember I gave you another mnemonic, and I guess I have to stand in front of the camera to do this. On the outside columns, right here, big, what do we have? Net income. Now on the test, I'm not going to say outside two columns, do you have a net income? I'm going to say if it's the debit on the income statement and the credit on the balance sheet, do you have a net income or a net loss? What do you have?
Net income.
Net income. Outside two columns, we want it to be very large. But we can also have a net
Put it
loss.
on the debit side
What?
and not on the inside, on the credit side.
This is on the credit side, this is on the debit side.
Oh, so we...
Debit side of the income statement, credit side of the balance sheet. So my question on the test will be, if you have a number in the debit side of the income statement and the credit side of the balance sheet, do you have a net income or net loss? You might have to picture it. You might have to draw out these two columns or 4 columns to decide what it is. If my question is, if it's a credit on the income statement and a debit on the balance sheet, what do we have? And how big do we want the net loss to be?
As small as possible.
Small as possible. So I think that's just an easy way to remember. If it's the inside two columns, it's a net loss, we want it to be small. If it's the outside two columns, it's a net income and we want that to be large. We're always going to add whatever that number is, and these two numbers should equal. How do we finish that worksheet then? And hopefully you did this for homework. Let's just focus on these last 4 columns. And if I slide that over far enough to the left, was that a net income or a net loss?
Net income.
Outside 2 columns, correct? We always want to add this number. If we had a net loss, they'd be right in here. Now our income statement and our balance sheet totals equal, but they don't equal each other. Only this number equals the net income or the net loss.
And how would you determine if it's a net income or net loss?
You have to subtract the small number
See, that's
from
why I
the
thought-
large
I
number.
We are confusing.
Yes, and that's why I thought I would put the 10 under the 27 because it was a.
It's
Why?
a-
You'd be subtracting. I always want you to add this number.
Always add, okay.
Always add. We have to add it where it needs to go so these numbers equal. If you put it here, you subtract it to make those
Well,
two
we weren't
equal.
doing that. We weren't totaling. That's
Oh,
why-
you didn't do totals
No.
here? Okay.
No, we just left it
That's
as
the
net,
last
and
step.
then we just carried it over to the.
And we didn't
next.
get to finish that.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's, we were.
So that's the last step.
Yeah, right step,
We
right.
want to add the net income or the net loss. Here it's a net income, and we're adding it. Always add. Now it's going to equal. Not each other, but just in the income statement and the balance sheet. Okay? We didn't get that far when we were
We
working
didn't-
through it.
we didn't go
Yeah.
back, I don't know.
Oh, if you need
But
to
we
pick up,
rebalanced, but
We
we
balance.
balanced.
Quick
if you
question.
need to pick it up, you can pick it up and fix it before I grade it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay?
Okay, so we don't have to put net income or totals on our
Yes, you
page.
do.
You see, it's.
Just
yeah,
net
I did
income,
that.
but you don't really list totals. You just list whether it was a net income or a net
Move it over a
loss.
little bit again.
So you just label there. You don't have to label that it was a total. How do we know it was a total?
Because the 2 lines.
We've got the double line right here and right here. And remember that we're labeling these with the letters that they gave us in the book. It was A, B, C, D.
The posting transactions.
Those adjustments. And on this one, we had 4. And I just gave myself a little reminder again what those accounts were going to be. The ICE accounts, they're temporary. And then the balance sheet accounts are ones that will stay with us forever. So again, inside 2 columns, if we have to add the difference between those two, and someone asked, how did we get the 10? We had 17 here and 27. I subtracted. This one was easy, but some of them won't be easy because the numbers will be complicated numbers. And then these 2 numbers should be the same, the net income or the net loss. From there, we should be able to prepare the financial statements. This is still the demo. So this is our income statement. And just a reminder, I just finished grading the hybrid test. Some of you forgot your dollar signs. First number in a column, and then your total. And remember your perfectly straight lines. That one's not very straight, is it? It's off the line.
Points
So-
off.
That's the income statement. Yes, points off.
That's 5 points for everybody.
All right, there's the statement of owner's equity. Again, your dollar signs, first number in a column, and then your total. And label everything. This was for a month, so it was December 1
First
and
and
then
then,
the
yeah.
31st.
Okay.
And the statement of owner's equity just gives us the ending capital. It'll be the new capital for the next fiscal period, which will be January. Notice the dates on there. A couple of you missed that on the test that I finished grading this morning. And then the last financial statement is the balance sheet. On your test, you had to write these 2.
No, I didn't.
And then this has a particular date.
Month end.
Again, your dollar signs, first number in a column.
I have a question. With you putting less, that takes away the parentheses around it.
Oh, you could put the parentheses too. I didn't put parentheses on here, but you could have your parentheses right here.
Okay.
That's usually what we do in accounting. If we have a colored printer, sometimes it prints red.
Okay.
Now, would it have been all right if we just dropped that 100 down, like how we do it on the total?
Oh, to bring it down here,
Yeah.
you could.
Okay, because
Yeah,
that's what I
you
did
could.
on the total.
Yes, that's fine, as long as everything's labeled. And sometimes when we're doing this one, we need to skip some lines here so that these 2 are on the same line. I like straight lines, I like things to be on the same line, I like your dollar signs, but if you had moved this number down here, that would have been fine. I'm not too picky with that. And then remember the date on the balance sheet. So the last part of the demo problem really wasn't anything new, because we've been doing those financial statements since chapter 1.
No,
All right, any questions about 4? Or maybe the hybrid students might have too. Do you all have any questions about it?
I was just confused on how to determine the net loss and the net income. So just
Okay,
subtracting the big
subtract the
stuff.
smaller number from the large number. And the question was, how do we determine whether it's a net income or net loss? You just have to subtract to see where we need to put it. And we always want to remember we want to add.
Once you figure out that number. Okay.
Yeah, we want to add it. All right? All right. Then let's look